Title: The Neighbor in Apartment 3B. I moved into my new apartment about a month ago, and I'm starting to think I made a huge mistake. I'm posting this here because I need to get it off my chest, and maybe someone can tell me if I'm losing it or if something's really wrong. This is going to be long, so bear with me. I need to tell someone. It started innocently enough. I'd been saving up for years to move out of my parents' place, and when I found this apartment in a quiet part of town, it felt like a steal. The building's old, like 1920s, old with creaky floors and those weirdly high ceilings, but the rent was dirt cheap for a one-bedroom. The landlord, a gruff guy named Mr. Hensley, didn't ask too many questions, just handed me the keys and said, "Don't make trouble." I was thrilled. My own place, finally. A fresh start. The first week was great. I was unpacking, arranging my thrift store furniture, blasting music, while I cooked spaghetti in my tiny kitchen. The neighbors seemed nice enough. There was Mrs. Callahan in 2A, who brought me a plate of cookies, and a quiet guy in 4C, who nodded at me in the hallway. But then there was 3B, the apartment directly across from mine. I hadn't met the tenant yet, but I'd hear them sometimes. Soft footsteps late at night, the faint hum of a TV, or the occasional sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor. I figured they were just a night owl like me. One evening I was taking out the trash when I finally saw her. She was maybe in her late 30s, with pale skin and dark hair tied back in a messy bun. She was carrying a grocery bag, struggling with the lock on her door. I don't know why, but I felt compelled to say something. "Hey, need a hand?" I called out, trying to sound friendly. She turned, and her eyes were intense. Bright green, almost glowing under the dim hallway light. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her face. "Oh no, I've got it. Thanks, though." Her voice was soft, almost too soft, like she was whispering even though she wasn't. "I'm Alex," I said, gesturing to my door. "Just moved into 3A. "Clara," she replied, finally getting her door open. "Welcome to the building." And then she was gone, the door clicking shut behind her. That was it. Nothing weird, right? Just a normal neighborly exchange. But something about her stuck with me. And maybe it was the way she looked at me like she was sizing me up. Or maybe I was just being paranoid. I'd been living alone for the first time, and every little noise made me jump. A few days later, I started noticing things. Small things at first. I'd come home from work and find my front door slightly ajar, not wide open, just enough that I'd notice. I'd chalk it up to forgetting to lock it, but I'm meticulous about that stuff. I triple check locks before I leave. Then there were the footsteps. Every night around 2 a.m., I'd hear them from 3B, slow, deliberate steps, pacing back and forth. Sometimes I'd hear that dragging sound again, like furniture being moved, but it was too rhythmic to intentional. Tried to brush it off. Old buildings make noises, right? And Clara seemed nice enough, if a little distant. But then I started seeing her more often, always at odd hours, always alone. She'd be in the hallway, standing by her door, just staring at it, like she was waiting for something. Once, I caught her muttering to herself, too quiet for me to make out the words. When she saw me, she smiled that same empty smile and went inside. I started asking around casually to see if anyone knew anything about her. Mrs. Callahan, the cookie lady, got weird when I mentioned Clara. "Oh, she keeps to herself," she said, her voice tight. "Nice enough, I suppose. Been here a long time." When I pressed for more, she changed the subject. The guy in 4C, whose name I learned was Tom, was even less helpful. "Don't know her," he said, practically slamming his door in my face. "Okay, fine. People are private. I get it." But then things got weirder. One night, I was up late watching Netflix when I heard a knock. Not loud, just a soft tap, tap, tap on my door. I froze. It was 3 a.m., and I wasn't expecting anyone. I tiptoed to the peephole and looked out. Nothing. Just the empty hallway. I figured I'd imagined it, but as soon as I sat back down, it came again. Tap, tap, tap. This time I yanked the door open, heart pounding. No one was there. But across the hall, Clara's door was cracked open, just an inch, and I swear I saw those green eyes staring at me through the gap before it closed. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about those eyes, about the way they seemed to see me, like she knew something I didn't. The next morning, I decided to confront her. I wasn't going to be a creep about it, just ask if everything was okay. I knocked on her door, waited. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Nothing. But as I turned to leave, I heard that dragging sound coming from inside her apartment. I pressed my ear to the door,